This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 476, recorded on Thursday, August 14th, 2014. What the frack? Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and today we're going to fill your head with a brain-controlling implant, some testes, and a lot of chemicals. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The history of mankind is one of continued progress. Unrelenting opposition to said progress continues at the same time. The ancient mystics discovered logic and made myths to illustrate what they had learned, while those that followed made much of the myths and kept little of the logic they were meant to be taught. Modern science has made available a vision of the world without the use of mythology. And though we can get lost often in the jabberwocky of analogies, understanding the complex reality, the reliability of the principles of science do not require belief or faith or interconnection to a mythical world. The world of science was there before we knew about it, and will be there long after we are gone. But before we go, we would like to offer you This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kirsten and Blair.
Good science to you. That was, you held on to that one.
Yeah. Really pronounced every O in that good, didn't you?
And added a few, you know, taking the liberty with the
That's just for anybody who's listening early in the morning. Needed help waking up. There you go.
That's right. Hey everyone, happy day of science. Welcome to This Week in Science. We're going to talk about science, all the stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the exciting, the thrilling, the unique, everything that we could come up with to thrill you and with wonderment about the world of science this week. We've got a great show ahead. This week's show, I've got some science news about freaking, fracking, viral invasions, and our cybernetic future. What do you have, Justin?
I've got all sorts of things. I've got a way to kill creativity in women.
Great.
I've got a possible cure for diabetes. An aspirin curing cancer. Turtles that talk. Scientists that are using lasers to control the minds of mice. And legs that run off of a computer.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Blair, I know you've got a lot. What do you have in store for us?
Oh my goodness. I have some testes, as per usual. Brood parasites, monkeyed families, and Shark Week drama.
Drama.
Mm-hmm.
Always some Shark Week drama.
Always.
Always. All right, everybody. Tweet to your friends. TWIS is starting now. Yeah, let's talk about Triclosan, triclocarban, all those wonderful things that we use to fight the bacteria. Fight the bacteria that be. Right, anyway. We have made a habit of putting a lot of chemicals in the things that we use, and in recent years, actually, the market forces have driven the use of triclosan and triclocarban out of a lot of products that they were being used in hand soaps, etc. However, there is some recent evidence out that it is not so great, still adding up against these additives use. This week, reporting at the American Chemical Society's annual meeting here in San Francisco, a group of researchers were talking about their work into chemicals that are used in some products, hand soaps, other things, including triclosan and triclocarbon. They also looked at it. They found another a product called butylparaben that seemed to have an effect as well. They found triclosan in the urine samples of all pregnant women they screened, which not incredibly terrible. The livers, the kidneys doing a great job of cleaning the triclosan out of the system of all of us. Our filtering system, our filtration system works great, gets rid of it, but there's still these chemicals are still coming into our body, possibly having an effect in the short time while they were here. They also looked at umbilical cord samples, and they detected triclosan in half of the umbilical cord samples that they looked at. So that means, and triclocarbon was also in many of the samples, says the researcher Benny Pike. So these germ killers are getting into our bodies. We don't exactly know what kinds of effects they're having. There's another study, another report out that some researchers looking at frogs and tadpoles found that frog legs were shortened, that the bones were not forming correctly, and that tadpoles are not swimming correctly and forming into frogs correctly, which implies that these compounds are affecting our endocrine systems. If they're affecting our endocrine systems, that could lead to all sorts of issues related to growth, reproduction, just about everything. Yeah, and then the big link that Pike and his team at Arizona State University found was with butylparaben, in which they found a direct link between this antimicrobial that's used in cosmetic products and the length of newborns. That the higher the exposure or the butylparaben that was indicated with newborns, the shorter they were. So we don't know exactly what that means for long-term growth or the eventual height, but it means that babies who are exposed in utero to butylparaben are potentially going to be shorter when they're born.
So do we know what the length at birth has to do with the rest of a baby's life? Like, has that been looked at?
No, I mean, it's not really indicative of anything. And it's a link between, okay, there's exposure to this and body length of the newborn at birth. But they don't have any kind of long-term prediction that they can make. There's absolutely nothing they can say there. So we don't know whether, you're a little bit shorter when you're born because you're exposed to this, and then you go on to eat a lifetime of McDonald's and you end up being a basketball player.
So many confounding variables.
Exactly. There's all sorts of things that you could get that in our lives that do complicate the issue of determining what is having an effect and how. And additionally to this, in this topic, there's a report out in Bloomberg this week about Colgate and Colgate Total toothpaste. If you use Colgate Total toothpaste, it is the one toothpaste on the market that has been approved by the FDA to contain triclosan. The reasoning behind this is that some studies have supported its use in reducing bacteria in the mouth, reducing gingivitis, which would then reduce the risk of heart disease. So, sounds great. You got triclosan, kills bacteria in your mouth, you don't get the gingivitis, and then the bacteria don't get into or the inflammation doesn't occur in your gums to allow influences to get into your bloodstream that would lead to cardiovascular disease. Sounds awesome, right? Well, the question is, if you're putting this into your body, what other effects is it having? There's a huge question about endocrine risk. As this point in time, there's an FDA. The FDA has released a number of documents that were given to them by Colgate in the approval process, and they have been released through a Freedom of Information Act, and so now they are available on the FDA's website to be able to see. And Colgate's not accused of any kind of wrongdoing in having it in their products. As I said earlier, most Triclosan that's been removed from products has been just because of kind of market pressure. People are going, oh, we don't really want that, so they're removing it. They have 35 pages that don't prove Triclosan is harmful, and it was, according to Colgate, the FDA's decision to keep the documents off of its website. So Colgate says that the effectiveness is supported by 80 clinical studies involving 19,000 people. It gave the FDA 98 volumes, hundreds of pages, supporting safety and the science of Triclosan in the toothpaste. However, in recent years, there have been a number of studies that do suggest that there is, potential risk to Triclosan exposure, and recent safety tests do suggest that that there's a dose response, that it doesn't have to be large quantities, that you don't have to be, taking a cup full of toothpaste to be getting exposed to enough to have an influence. And there's a question about whether or not the small amount that you get in a pea-sized bit of toothpaste twice a day on your toothbrush, whether that is enough to have endocrine effects.
And as I recall, too, if it's mixed chemically with chlorine, it creates a carcinogen gas as an after effect. So
I don't know.
If you're going to use this toothpaste, make sure you use bottled water, because chances are your
chlorinated
has some level of chlorine in it.
Yeah. So there are studies. Not all of the information that was necessarily given to the FDA does support Triclosan's use. There's a summary of a 1992 study showing that pregnant mice receiving higher doses of Triclosan had lower weight fetuses, increased incidence of irregular bone formation in their skulls and paws. 5 of the 120 mice delivered prematurely. I don't know whether or not that would be statistically significant. A study on pregnant rats the same year found that at higher doses, rat litters had increased incidence of delayed bone formation in areas including the skull, vertebrae, and pelvis. The application dismissed the results, saying the premature births weren't dose-related and therefore incidental. Bone formation issues were due to toxic effects on the mother and not the fetus. Still, if there are toxic influences on the mother that are affecting the fetus, then that should be potentially of concern. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up this wonderful new information that we have about the stuff that we're putting in our bodies, potentially, and then jump into the stuff we're putting into the ground, fracking. Yeah.
Putting in and taking out. Right?
Putting in and taking out. So fracking, hydraulic fracturing, is a procedure that's used by natural gas companies, companies that are trying to get natural gas resources out of the shale, out of the ground. They inject mixtures of chemicals and other things that hold the rock open and kill bacteria and do all sorts of stuff. They inject it down into the rock in order to push gas, to free gas up and to push it out so they can collect it. The actual ingredients have been questioned by many people. However, nobody's really taken a serious look at all the ingredients that are used in the hydraulic fracturing process.
And so part of that, though, isn't that part of the reason, at least as I understood it, was that it's proprietary. And they've gotten away with this, well, we can't tell you what's in it because it's protected, copyrighted, the formula, so you're not even allowed to know what we're putting into the ground.
Right.
Which seems like that means that there's something really bad.
Yeah, it makes it seem. So people have made comments like, oh, there are thousands of dangerous chemicals that are being pumped into the ground. That's inaccurate. that is sensationalism by one side of the issue. However, to say that there are no harmful chemicals being involved, that is also misinformation and not the truth. And so, again, at the ACS meeting this week, researchers from, let's see, does it say where they're from? Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratories and the University of the Pacific have scoured databases and reports to get a list of substances that are commonly used in fracking. They have analyzed all of these things and found that there are about a third of the compounds, and there are about 190, 200 compounds that are commonly used in fracturing. 1/3 of them we don't really know very much about. The chemists just say, well, we just don't have a lot of information. There hasn't been a lot of research done on the toxicity, on the physical and chemical properties. There's just more work that needs to be done to find out about these
chemicals that we don't know the properties of.
I mean, we know general properties, but we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing at specific concentrations in combination with other chemicals. And so there are things that need to be learned. So now we have a list, at least, of chemicals that we need to get down to business on and study very seriously and very quickly to find out how they are going to affect the environment and animal health and human health.
After the fact, which is fine. I'm all for it. Okay. You know, throw it out there into the world and then let's study it. Okay, I'm with them.
And then, now comes the kind of from the medium not great news to the kind of bad news. There are 8 compounds that they identified that are particularly toxic to mammals.
Oh, well, to mammals. Those are the things. Those are what, insects? What's a mammal? Like
mosquito? We don't need to worry about the mammals.
What's it?
That would be yes.
It's some sort of extinct creature that used to walk the earth. What is a mammal?
That would be yes. Mammals.
Live birth, hair, milk production.
Yes.
Things with breasts.
Warm-blooded.
Mammary glands. Yes.
Yeah.
Additionally, several of the compounds are potentially of these 8 compounds are potentially toxic to aquatic animals as well. So the fracking chemicals getting into the water supply, if they end up in rivers and streams, they could have downstream effects. And if they end up in our water supply and we're drinking these compounds, they're not removed in water treatment at any stage, these could have effects. And so now some of these compounds are biocides. They're used to kill bacteria below the ground to keep these wells clean, I guess. I don't know. But biocides, that biocide, killing life. So it's not hundreds or thousands of chemicals as people have postulated and put out there, but there are several, at least 8 that are of grave concern, and there are probably about 60, as you said, 60 to 70 that require a lot more study.
So now I'm slightly intrigued. Now I'm less concerned about the health effects and much more interested in why do they need to kill bacteria to release oil? Is it their gas-producing bacteria down there that are preventing it from having an escape route, or are they clogging up the ways in which...
Yeah, so it's possible microbes could be part of corrosive processes that affect pipes. Microbes could... microbes, I mean, they want to keep microbes from growing. I don't know all the reasons they want to keep microbes from growing.
Interesting. I want to know why. That's really fascinating.
That's a great question.
That to me is more fascinating.
I thought the microbes broke down the oil into different organic compounds.
Long time ago. No. Right now.
No, I thought they do.
Right now.
I thought that was part of why, is because their yield would be lower if it was contaminated.
If it's contaminated and microbes get in and they're breaking down the gas and using it. Yeah. That makes sense.
Is it that the microbes themselves contain the gas? And we're like, need to kill them so that they'll, like little balloons, let go of the guy. I don't know. Like, I have no idea why this is necessary.
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway, it is interesting to note all the we do as Justin mentioned.
What's the other major ingredient?
What do you mean? What's the other major ingredient?
Isn't there like food stuff going down in there?
I don't think there's food stuff going down.
Yeah. Hang on. So
well, there are some compounds that are biodegradable or food grade, which would mean that they are, potentially very safe, but in the large quantities that they're used in, for the fracking process, the fracking solutions will have to be treated before the water from that is released. So even though there are a large number of the compounds are safe, biodegradable, food grade, etc., that are not supposed to have harm on humans, just the large concentration of them could have an effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a small description I'm reading here. They include, there's gelling agents that thicken fluids, biocides to keep microbes from growing, doesn't exactly explain why, and sand. They're injecting sand to prop open tiny cracks in the rock, and compounds to prevent pipe corrosion. Huh.
Yep.
Why are they hating on the microbes, though?
Don't eat my gas.
Right?
Don't eat my gas. That's why they're hating on the microbes.
It says the industry side is saying, we are just using food additives, basically making ice cream here.
Yeah, fracking is like making ice cream.
Fuel. Oh, that's.
There's an awesome video on the internet somewhere where they demonstrate fracking with a birthday cake.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. I'll see if I can find it at some point, but they show you how injecting these chemicals and trying to withdraw gas, it kind of breaks apart the cake in an interesting way, and it's cut in half so you can kind of see what's happening. It's not the perfect demonstration, but it's kind of fun, and it's a good kind of very simplified demonstration, because it's so hard for us to imagine what's happening under the earth where we can't see it, when they're doing the fracking. I think it's very hard for people to kind of visualize.
Gotta break it up. Fracking. Break it up. Hey, Justin, what you got?
Let's see. So this is an interesting. I've got like a lot of robot stuff here. Apparently.
Awesome. World robot domination.
First one is robot legs. There's a brain. We have our brain, the brain we think about, the one that's in our head. We have another brain of sorts in our spine that is sort of in control of locomotion with the legs. We sort of send the general idea down to the spinal cord, what we want to do. The main brain up top says, I want to be walking, and the other brain sort of takes over. It's the one that's actually in charge of the locomotion. It's our spinal cord. When you have a spinal injury, not only, in the severe case, you can no longer have the ability to walk, but in a lot of instances, a spinal injury just prevents the signals from getting through clearly, and so you have kind of funky walking, bad gaits, right? So this is a Japanese research group that's working with the associate professor of the National Institute of Physiological Sciences, National Institute of Natural Sciences. They've made an artificial connection from the brain to the locomotion center in the spinal cord, bypassing the spine itself using a computer interface. This allowed subjects to simulate the spinal locomotion center using volitionally controlled muscle activity and to control walking in the legs. Basically, they hot-wired their legs. Pretty brilliant. Neural networks in the spinal cord locomotion center are capable of producing rhythmic movements, such as swimming, walking, even when they are somewhat isolated from the brain. The brain controls spinal locomotion center itself by sending commands to the spinal locomotion center to start, to stop, to change speed, to do some specific steps so you don't step on this thing or that thing. But the loss of that link is what causes most locomotion problems with our legs, with walking and such. It's kind of interesting here. Again, it sort of reminds me of some of the long-distance studies where thought can control through a computer interface, can control a physical movement somewhere else. Could be programmed too, right? So I can envision a future where, yeah, I would love to go out clubbing tonight, but I haven't been out for so long. My moves are so out of date. My dance steps are so yesterday, right? You could download the latest dance steps. You get out there, hit the dance floor. You got a little, maybe run it off your smartphone, and then all of a sudden you've got all the moves with your legs. You're doing the thin time. You're doing the line dancing, or I don't even know what people do. They're doing the hustle. Wait, what are people doing? Whatever the new dance craze is, you can do it. Also, yeah, people with spinal injuries will be able to walk again, which would be nice. But next one I got is an ongoing smuggling problem at the borders, and we've been employing sniffing dogs and robots to sniff out stuff coming into the country. But there are things that are smuggled out of the United States as well. What do you think the number one thing being smuggled out of the United States is?
Money.
That's it. That's exactly right. It's hard cash, currency.
Dollar bills.
Are sneaking out of the United States. This is kind of interesting, right? Like they found a way to smell cash.
What?
Yeah, they've got a money sniffer.
Robots. Money-sniffing robots.
Money-sniffing robot. Yeah, this is where is this? I don't know where the research robot team is. I don't know where this research team is from. But Professor Lee says that the technique they're calling the bulk currency detection system should work effectively within a few seconds, or perhaps at the longest, a minute of what it takes to do a normal border inspection. Involves gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, which things that they're already using to detect things like explosives, sometimes drugs, right?
But they'd be looking for like a specific chemical signal that would indicate that, oh, there's probably a lot of money here.
Yeah, right. It says it can even do it in the presence of exhaust from a vehicle. Like it can totally eliminate the entire background because it's only looking. It's sort of like a sense of smell that can only smell a very tiny window, like being able to only smell strawberries. I don't know, right? So you walk through the produce section of your local store, and the only thing you can smell in there is strawberry. Nothing else. Nothing else even shows up on your sniffer.
Yeah, this kind of stuff is so interesting. I mean, it's interesting to me that someone's figuring out what money smells like when money as it passes through people's fingers and goes in your pockets and goes in the bottom of your purse or goes into a bank or into a drawer at a cashier. Like by the time money could be, collected and is probably leaving, and if it's not a pristine dollar bill, there's probably so many other things in it.
Yeah. So the gases they're looking for are a very unique set of chemicals, including aldehydes, furans, and organic acids. A set of so it's just but it's
the money fingerprint.
The smell of money, right? Yeah. The fingerprint of cold hard cash.
Money grubbing robots.
The smell. I just love the smell of money.
Right. And then the last one, scientists. Actually, it's the headline that caught me, really, more than anything else. Scientists use lasers to control mouse brains.
Lasers.
Awesome! I thought they only used lasers to control sharks. Now it's mouse brains. Awesome.
Now it's mouse brains. We may now have a handle on how a tiny part of the brain exerts tremendous control over thoughts and perception, says Michael Halassa, assistant professor at New York University's Langone Medical Center, lead investigator of the study. The results that we have here may be a gateway into understanding the circuitry that underlies neuropsychopathic disorders. So it's working on, where is this part of the brain? The thalamic reticular nucleus, that which is thought to influence consciousness. And they were able to get these mice brains to switch between the sort of internal dialogue thinking and be more focused on external distractions. So they were sort of able to change their frame of reference for consciousness. Right?
That's fascinating.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. So the thalamic reticular nucleus is a thin layer of nerves on the surface of the thalamus, a center located deep inside the brain. That which relays information from the body to the cerebral cortex, our connection to the outside world, if you will. The cortex is the outer multifolded layer of the brain that controls numerous functions, including one's thoughts, movements, language, emotions, memories, and visual perceptions. So it's thought to sort of be the switchboard of displaying before the conscious mind that which it's paying attention to, right? Sort of like Windows on a computer. If you're watching a video over here and you got this other thing in the background, it's the sort of thing that decides which tab you're clicked into and paying actual now attention to.
I'm sorry, what?
Exactly. To study the circuits, researchers identified cells that send inhibitory signals to parts of the thalamus, known as the relay visual information to the cortex. Using a technique known as multi-electrode recording, they showed that sleep and concentration affected these cells in opposite ways. So they fired often when the mice were asleep, these inhibitors, especially during short bursts of simultaneous brain cell activity called sleep spindles. These activity bursts briefly widen electrical brain wave traces, making them look like spindles, the straight spikes with rounded bottoms that they're used to make yarn. Does anybody know anything about yarn making? This is the problem with analogies.
No.
You've picked an analogy that your grandmother would understand.
Yeah, it's like 100 years
Nobody
old.
else. Actually, your great-grandmother, not even your grandmother, knows this analogy. So in contrast, the cells fired infrequently when the mice were tasked with actual visual cues to find food. The results suggested that these cells blocked visual information from reaching the cortex during sleep and allowed transmission of visual information when the mice were awake and attentive. What they did was surprising results may provide fundamental insights on how the brain controls information about transmission, a process that is disrupted in patients with psychiatric disorders. Previous studies suggested that people who experienced more spindles while sleeping were less susceptible to being disturbed by outside noises. Moreover, people with schizophrenia and autism spectrum disorder may experience fewer spindles.
So it's interesting that, awesome, we can use light, laser light. We've got a, optogenetic setup where there's a laser directly into the brain to stimulate this one particular area of the brain and activate one particular light-activated molecule that this mouse has been genetically modified to express. So now, okay, light acts on it, choop, molecule activates, chick, chick, thalamus is stimulated, chick, chick, I'm alert, I'm going to take more stuff in. Yeah,
so
yeah.
They had
drowsiness. Okay, that's great in a laboratory in a mouse with a laser in his head. But this, take it to real practicalities, what is the step that we're going to get to be like, okay, we can stimulate your thalamus and we can get you to ignore these distractions and fix your schizophrenia, fix your depression, fix whatever it is, whatever problem you have. How far down the line is that? I don't want somebody sticking a laser in my head.
Kiki.
No?
So you skipped the part. So yeah, so they took sleeping mice, and the sleeping mice usually take a long time to find the food. Their brains are just waking up, but they could stimulate it as though they could basically take control of the switches and allow the visual information to come more to the forefront. And the sleep-deprived mice acted like mice that had gotten a good night's sleep.
Yes.
And the reverse they did to the wide-awake mice, they stimulated the sleepy behavior of the spindles, and suddenly those mice had a harder time finding the food. They were less visually conscious of what was going on around them. So what this means, though, with this, and it's the future, Kiki. You know, the future could be 100 years from now.
Come on, Kiki. This is the future we're talking about. I know.
But you may find one day, like the Blockbusters, how they've all gone out of business. Those big Blockbuster stores where you would rent a medium that you would then take to the house and plug into a machine, and then you would watch the thing. Just in the way that that's gone away, so could someday all the Starbucks immediately disappear. Because everyone who needs coffee, right, when you've got lasers in your brain waking you up when it's time to get up and go. You wouldn't need it. You'd be visually alert and ready for the day, just like that, just with your brain lasers.
There could be
set it as a timer.
There could be much easier ways than lasers, Justin.
But are there any that are cooler?
Yes.
There may be none cooler than brain lasers.
I know, brain lasers. I mean, it's just a brazier.
Brazier.
Excuse me, I've got to have my morning brazier.
Okay. I don't think you ladies know what you're referencing here, but you should stop saying that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You should stop saying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, it is time, anyway, to move the show forward into what we lovingly call Blair's Animal Corner.
She loves our creature, bright and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. Animal Corner.
Sweet. I have so much. Should I start with a rant or something fun?
Oh.
Yes.
Start with the rant, because
All
then
right.
we can time it, and we'll get to the fun stuff. Rant off, and I'll cut you off at some point.
Great. Shark Week used to be fun. It used to be a time to talk about how awesome sharks are, right? Well, now it's kind of nonsensical stupidness. Last year there was a documentary about how the megalodon was still alive and all sorts of other things that are just not true, and they had these fake documentaries with a quick kind of disclaimer at the very beginning or the very end that was on the screen for, I think, less than 10 seconds, and it just said, essentially, this is fake, and it's for entertainment purposes. But otherwise, they sold it like a documentary, and they had scientists talking, and they had people talking about having seen the megalodon in real life, which is not true. They've been extinct for hundreds of thousands of years. And now we're kind of starting to figure out, some scientists have finally spoken out this year about how the Discovery Channel gets real scientists on these bogus documentaries. So apparently the Discovery Channel goes to these scientists where they're doing their field research, tells them they want to talk about their research for Shark Week. Great! We're going to talk about some real science about sharks for Shark Week. Could not imagine a better way of using the programming time. Well, then they ask them very vague questions. They use the answers, and then they use those answers out of context in these fake documentaries. So, for example, one scientist, Jonathan Davis, who's studying sharks out in the field, he got quoted in a special called Voodoo Shark about a mythical monster shark called Rookin that's supposed to live in the bayous of Louisiana. So he was studying these sharks in Louisiana, And he kept asking, what is this for? What is this for? He asked so many of the crew members, he even asked the head producer what the show was going to be about, and he never got a straight answer. And the producer kept avoiding the questions. He was told that it would be combined with some other filming to make a show about Louisiana shark research. That's the only information he was giving. In which case, fantastic. We need more real science out there to teach people about the realities of sharks and other wild animals. I think it's fantastic to get real scientists out on TV. But then they combined his commentary with some fishermen in Louisiana who had claimed to see the rookin'. And so they asked him all these questions and then had him rephrase sentences so that he could get his commentary, so the commentary could be molded into this fake documentary.
So basically, it's creative editing, where they had one group of people say one thing, and then they'd cut to the scientist who answered the question or said something related to it. But in reality, when the answer was made, that was not the topic at all.
And they even would ask him to re-say sentences with a slightly different word. And sometimes he would, but a few times he was asked to use specific words or phrases that he would never say on his own, so he just said no. But they would ask him these kind of leading questions and then get these vague responses. They wanted his responses to be more vague so that, yes, they could turn it into whatever they wanted. And they did this also with last year with another scientist, Christine Stump, who was studying hammerheads, and she was put into the Shark Week documentary Monster Hammerhead. And so it's about a legendary hammerhead shark that's been patrolling Florida shores for the past 60 years. Now a team of scientists and anglers look to explore the mystery and find out if the legend could be real.
Yeah, this isn't the first time this has happened. I mean, it's creative editing and in this kind of work, and it happens a lot. And you, as a producer, you are out there, and maybe you know what the general storyline's going to be, but you do want to get some words that could be used at this end or that end, so you can make the edit better. Yeah. And there's always going to be that. But I'm also going to say, What the Bleep is an example of another documentary in which physicists were told that they were going to be talking about one thing and answered a whole bunch of questions, and then it was creatively put together to be a very different presentation of information than they were led to believe they were going to be in. I don't think it's right. I think it is misleading the people that you're interviewing is, that's underhanded. Come on. So, maybe you will find a scientist who wants to come on your show about Monster Hammerhead. Just look a little harder to find somebody.
There's a few things I think going on here. So, first of all, if some rich celebrity was taken out of context and put into some fake documentary saying something slanderous about themselves, their career, or somebody else, they could sue that company.
Yep.
So that's something that is kind of, this is a very wiggledy-woggledy area, if that's a phrase.
Wiggledy-wobbledy?
Yes. That I feel like, I'm not saying that scientists should go out and sue the Discovery Channel. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that the Discovery Channel needs to take this more seriously. They're obviously purposefully misleading these scientists. And that's what's so kind of hurtful, especially because this is the other thing. Discovery Channel used to be an educational channel.
Educational, yeah.
So did Animal Planet. Animal Planet used to be an educational channel. And then last year they aired some show about how mermaids are real on Animal Planet. And to this day, still, in the aquarium where I work, people walk up to me and ask me if we have mermaids.
And you say?
Those don't exist.
You say, when I put on a tail and jump into the tank.
Yeah, so it's very frustrating. There are so many channels on TV. So many channels for all sorts of programming you could possibly imagine. Do we really need to take the educational channels and conflate them? Do we need to do that?
Yeah, I think it's similar. I think it's similar to the reason why there's sugar in just about every bread that you buy. Why in our food they tried different things, and the things that seem to get the highest ratings are not necessarily the educational content, are not the foods that are good for you. People aren't buying that stuff. And so it's unfortunate. But what they're doing is following the marketing money, and that, it's economics. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say I approve or but it is, I guess, understandable if you think of it in terms of capitalistic forces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. As long as you're not lying to scientists to do it, then
yeah, exactly. That needs to stop.
This is the thing. When you're manipulating people to put on your show, that's your show. Your show is now a show about how we can manipulate this person to say something that. What in the world is that, Blair? I'm sorry.
It's a dog.
Is that what that was?
Yeah. There's a strange animal.
Oh, there's an animal with you there. Okay.
A strange animal in Blair's world.
It looked like a gremlin from here.
Don't feed it after midnight. Don't give it any water.
Don't feed that thing. Don't let it get wet.
So back on topic, the shark stuff. I think that lying to scientists and taking scientists' research and changing it is really, that hurts. That is rough. And to take somebody who's studying hammerhead sharks and then say that they're studying this mythical 60-year-old hammerhead shark when hammerheads only live to be 40 years old, that's, that's not a great thing. But I do think it's worth stating, too, that the scientist who I talked about at the beginning, who was studying the sharks in Louisiana, he does say at the end, he believes that Shark Week is still potentially a worthwhile thing. And I agree that spreading awareness about sharks for a week every year, sure. The sensationalism is the problem. And what he says is, while we can't control the editing, we can control what we say on camera. By being more involved, we could have the opportunity to voice real science amid an otherwise sensational lineup. If we want to make a difference in Shark Week, then we need to be the difference. So I think
go scientists. It's in our hands.
Exactly. So the scientists just need to be 100% on guard with any Discovery Channel crew that ever approaches them now. Any TV crew ever, really. Anything that isn't KQED, probably.
Or TWIS.
They have to be very careful. Or TWIS. They have to be very careful.
Here's the thing, too. No, I mean, on a very, okay. You sensationalize the heck out of everything for the general public because the general public eats what is being produced for breakfast. Okay? That's what they want, that you feed the mindless hordes that are the people out there. Great. But I'm actually saying I think there would be, I would sue the heck out of it, because here's the thing. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? The only thing I've heard of your research is you're one of those kooks that believes in the 40-year-old hammerhead, and we're studying it. We won't bring that guy on board. We know he's a kook. Because your reputation as a scientist is really your career. The representation of your work is how you get, maybe that grant, or maybe brought into that university, or get tenure, whatever it is. You purposefully don't go out saying ridiculous things. It's not like a politician. It's not like a celebrity who can believe that there's people that live under the earth or in the moon or whatever. They can just spit out ridiculous things and get away with it. You really need to have a credible view of the world.
Yeah.
So.
Let's move on. It's 9 o'clock. We have
See, I'll just keep going. Okay, a couple items related to sexual selection, one of my favorite areas to talk about, as we all know. Cuckoos. Cuckoos. Cuckoo, cuckoo. They are birds that are brood parasites. Do we know what brood parasites are?
Yeah, that's when
Yes.
I get tired of I don't want to raise my kids because I got vacation plans. So I take my egg and I give it to Horton, the elephant, to sit on.
Yeah.
Then I go down to like Miami or something. I hang out. Horton sits there because he's true to his word, season after season, and through the rain doesn't play with his friends. And then I come back once the thing's hatching and say, "Oh, hey, that's mine."
Or you never come back, and
Or, yeah.
Horton is left with
An elephant.
an elephant bird.
Yeah, and then your offspring got really good parental care, and they're all set up to perpetuate your DNA for you. Bing, bang, boom. So cuckoos, they parasitize the nests of large-billed garrigons.
Large-billed garrigongs.
Garrigons. And the brood parasites, in general, they kind of are in this arms race with their hosts because the hosts start to notice the eggs. Then they can kick out the parasitic eggs, right? Then the brood parasites find a new way to disguise their eggs. Then maybe the host recognizes that by starting to mark their own eggs as they come out of them. And then they notice this brood parasite egg does not have the mark on it. They kick that egg out. So there's definitely this evolutionary arms race happening. Well, these cuckoos, they found actually lay completely non-camouflaged eggs. They call them cryptic colorization on these eggs because they're kind of dark bronze colored. And these birds, these garrigons, make these nests that are very large, and they're kind of very deep, and they kind of go in at the top, so there's lots of shady areas in there. And so what happens is they lay these cryptic eggs in the shadowy, or they put the cryptic eggs in the shadowy areas of this nest, and the garrigons have trouble finding them. What's more, these cuckoos actually compete with each other for the best host nests. And so one cuckoo will come in and kick out the other cuckoo egg that's already in there. So they also are more effective at hiding from other cuckoos if they're cryptically colorized. So if they have the bronze colorization, then they're not only hiding from the hosts, but they're also hiding from the other brood parasites, which is pretty awesome.
That's so cool. We're just going to hide this egg in the shadows, and maybe the garrigong just won't see it. But even if it doesn't see it, maybe another cuckoo won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if another cuckoo does see it, they're going to kick my egg out of the nest.
Perfect. And then when we're talking about mammals and perpetuating DNA, often it boils down to one thing, and that's sperm. And particularly how much sperm a male can make. And that usually boils down to good old testes size.
Are bigger testes more capable of making more sperm? Is that just...
Bigger testes create larger ejaculates.
Thank you.
So there is more volume of sperm battling it out with the other sperm inside the female. So voles are pretty promiscuous. So they looked at voles, and there's a lot of sperm competition going on in these females. They're very promiscuous. And what they expected to see, they were tracking testes size with population density in voles. They expected to see that the denser the population, the larger the testes on these males, because that means they're battling with more other males to get to the egg. So they need a larger volume if there's more males in the area. So
right.
Higher density, higher testes size. They did find this for the most part, except, this is what's really interesting. So in the long-term longitudinal data for 5 different vole species in Finland, that's a lot of data. It's pretty cool. They found that the higher density, larger testes size, except when their population changed drastically in a short amount of time due to resource availability, then that had an opposite effect on the testes size. So when their population dropped all of a sudden, then their testes size would increase. And most likely that's because they suddenly had more availability, they had more access to those resources, and so they were able to put more energy towards reproductive tissue. Because for the most part, reproductive tissue is pretty far down on the totem pole in terms of where energy goes. So that's something that can definitely change depending on how much resources they have. So what they found was when the population dropped all of a sudden, then their testes size increased, even though the density
Wouldn't it be
was lower.
So it wasn't the opposite direction?
So it was the other way, when it was a steady increase in population density.
Right. More and more competition is a stronger force on bigger testes.
Right. So then the testes got bigger.
Yes.
But then in other populations...
For those of you who are only listening, the hand gestures keep getting larger and larger to the point now where the hand gestures are indicating some exceedingly large specimens.
Yes.
Little tiny voles. Little tiny voles.
That's the best part. A vole is like this big.
I know, the little tiny vole.
So anyway, so this is with a steady increase in population density. Testes size was increasing. But if you had a pretty constant population density and suddenly there was a drop, that would cause testes size to increase as well, because
they have more resources.
All of a sudden.
So now we can really focus on reproduction and not just survival.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like no matter what happens, testicle size increases. I haven't heard there's like they just keep getting bigger.
No, if the population gradually decreased, following this model, you could assume that testes size would gradually decrease because they wouldn't need to expend energy making reproductive tissue as much. So it would be more evolutionarily advantageous to send the energy elsewhere.
But if population dropped dramatically very quickly, then you saw a rebound, an increase in testes.
Yes.
Size.
Wild.
Go Finland. Go voles.
Looking at voles.
Go voles.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. We need to take a break.
Yeah, we do.
We need to take a break in a serious way.
But we will be back, right? We are coming back?
We are coming back. We have yet more science to throw at you. We'll be back in just a few moments. Stay tuned. TWIS has a store. It's our Zazzle store. If you go to twis.org, you can find our Zazzle store link in our main header bar, and through there you can find all sorts of merchandise that we know you'll love. T-shirts, hats, bags, things, merchandise, swag with the TWIS logo emblazoned all over it. And we'd love you to purchase it and support TWIS. So head on over to twis.org, go to the Zazzle store link, and search for whatever swag might make you happy. That would make us very happy. Additionally, we're supported through donations by listeners like you. Your donations pay for contractors we want to hire, our hosting, bandwidth, fun stuff we want to do occasionally, new equipment, all sorts of things. Any amount you're able to give, we appreciate, whether it's $1, $100, $1,000, whatever It helps us do what we want to do. So, and it helps us give back to you that much more. So we accept donations a couple of ways. We have PayPal donation buttons all over our website, TWIS.org. Go there, look for PayPal buttons. They're little pink and yellow things that are just about on every page of our website. Additionally, we've started a Patreon account over at Patreon, patreon.com/thisweekinscience, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. And Patreon's kind of like Kickstarter for media producers. So every time you pledge to support us at a particular level, but then you support us for every piece of media that we produce. So say we produce 4 episodes and you're supporting us at $2 an episode, you'll be charged $8 at the end of the month. But not just that, you get a gift in return. So we've got various gifts that we give back to you as thanks for your support at various levels. And Blair and I just had a big packaging party. We put all sorts of stuff in envelopes, so things will be going in the mail soon for our Patreon supporters. Be excited. Whatever your preference, PayPal or Patreon, head on over to our website, twis.org, and listen to the most recent episode, comment, and donate. It would help us out so much. If you don't have money to give, don't worry about that. We love the support just from you listening. The fact that you are listening is support enough, really. Except, maybe you could help a little bit more. Tell your friends about us. Do you like listening to us? Share us. Don't keep us a secret. We are a good thing to share. Share with your friends and family. Use your social networks for science. Tell people about TWIS. That would help us out a lot. Thank you so much for your support. We really, really could not do this without you.
1095. The device he uses sucks out the bad juices and leaves no bad bruises. It simply deduces the proper percentage of X in your brain. This miracle cure leaves no permanent pain. And still, you can't believe what a skeptic I am. I can't believe you believe in that plan. We disagree, but I still give a damn.
And we are back with more This Week in Science. Everybody out there, we have so much science for you still. Justin, do you have any more stories?
Do I ever? I have so many. This is okay. This is one of those potential cures for disease that's for reals out there, and lots of people have it. They've discovered that a single enzyme is necessary for diabetes to develop. An enzyme called 12-LO promotes the obesity-induced oxidative stress in the pancreatic cells that leads to prediabetes and thus diabetes. 12-LO's enzymatic action is the last step in the production of certain small molecules that harm the cell. According to a team from Indiana University School of Medicine, the findings will enable the development of drugs that can not only interfere with this enzyme, preventing or even possibly reversing diabetes.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. So we surmise that when individuals eat high-fat foods and become overweight, beta cells of their pancreas fail to produce sufficient insulin, says principal investigator Rajavendra Murra. Sorry.
Nice work.
In earlier studies, these researchers and their collaborators in Eastern Virginia Medical School showed that 12-LO is present in the cells only in people who become overweight. The harmful small molecules resulting from 12-LO's enzymatic action are known as HETAs, H-E-T-E-S, HETAs, short for hydroxyexostatocyanidinoid acid. Something along
What was that?
those. Something along those.
Say it again?
Something along those lines. For the study, investigators genetically engineered mice that lacked the gene for 12-LO exclusively in their pancreatic cells. Mice were then either fed a low-fat or a high-fat diet. Both the control mice and the knockout mice on the high-fat diet developed obesity and insulin resistance. The investigators also examined the pancreatic beta cells of both knockout and control mice using microscopic studies of the molecular analysis. Those from the knocked out mice were intact and healthy, while those from the control mice showed oxidative damage, demonstrating that 12-low in the resulting HEDAs caused the beta cell failure. Researchers note that the fatty acids used in the diet was based on the Western diet, composed of these so-called bad fats, based partly on recent study of related metabolic pathways. They say that the unsaturated and monounsaturated fats, which comprise most fats in the healthy, relatively high-fat Mediterranean diet, are unlikely to have the same effects. So they say the research is the first to show that 12-low in the beta cell is the culprit for the development of pre-diabetes in conjunction with high-fat diets.
So, okay, so now we have something specifically within the pancreas that can that leads to the development. We have a target.
Leads to the molecules that that harm the mitochondria.
Yeah. But with the type of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that I believe this is referring to, a lot of that can be prevented just by having a good diet or a better diet and exercise. So there's, there's a place for intervention pharmacologically. But there's also a place for an intervention in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You can fix it way before you need to start taking a pill or.
It's always the better place to start.
But this is a very, very interesting finding because it will help a lot of people.
Right, and also important to note that if there's diabetes in the family already,
you can be more prevalent.
I mean, it's not. There is no. We are not all created the same. Equality in genetics is a very tricky thing, right? Mm-hmm. If the high-fat diet or high-sugar diet or whatever it is that led to diabetes in your family previously, guess what? The next generation's going to have the same challenge, very likely. So getting the diet right in your time will help the future generation as well.
Very likely. Very, very likely. Speaking of genetics and environment and diet, how about mosquitoes?
Ew, what about them? Death to mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes love to feed off of our blood. Blood-sucking mosquitoes are moving around the world from more tropical regions into more temperate regions, especially as temperate regions warm with climate change. We are starting to see the spread of diseases like malaria and other infectious diseases that are normally only found in tropical regions, reaching areas like the United States. The United States is starting to see a virus known as Chikungunya virus. And Chikungunya virus has been circulating for most of its time near the Indian Ocean. Recently, and within the last decade, has made its way to the Caribbean and is now in the United States and is working its way up the United States. Within the United States, there is a species of mosquito that is highly likely to spread this. The Aedes albopictus mosquito. There's also the Aedes aegyptis mosquito that can carry the chikungunya, but it's not as common in the United States. So what we're seeing is this virus being spread to this new mosquito as the mosquito populations start to overlap. This article is in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B this last week, and what the study finds is that there is a very interesting correlation between temperature and genetic strain of the virus and genetic strain of the mosquito. And they found that the virus its life cycle leads it to replicate within the midgut of the mosquito before it migrates to the head region of the mosquito, where it then gets into the salivary glands. And once it gets into the salivary glands, that's when it becomes infectious. The timeline of infectivity of the mosquito becoming a vector for infection changes with the temperatures. They infected 940 mosquitoes at 20 degrees Celsius, the lowest recorded during an epidemic, and 28 degrees Celsius, which is the tropical average. And they found that there is a very interesting link between all of these factors. So because mosquitoes are cold-blooded, temperature changes the mosquito metabolism, which then affects the ability of the virus to replicate, which then affects all sorts of things. So it's going to be very interesting as we see climate change affecting local temperatures and mosquito development and growth, and also these emerging of infectious diseases.
Yeah, and another important part of that is that the mosquitoes are part of a food web that will also be affected. So there's all sorts of relations to that too. The fact that some of the biggest predators of mosquito larvae are ectothermic. They're cold-blooded. So they're animals that are totally going to be affected by
Frogs,
climate change.
salamanders,
Turtles.
Right? Turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their reproduction is being affected, and their ranges are being affected by climate change. So that's going to be interesting.
Yes. So not only is it more favorable for the mosquitoes, but also there's probably going to be less animals eating them.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Just learn how to pronounce chikungunya, everyone. Blair, did you have another story?
I have so many.
Right.
This is kind of cool. This is a quick one. Cows have a social structure, believe it or not. On farms, on free grazing farms, they found that when they put hay or grain out for the cows, that the grain, they didn't really care who they were near for the grain, because grain they want so bad, they all just rush to the grain. But then the hay, they took a long time to eat the hay, and the hay was less desirable. So they actually seemed to make intentional decisions as to who they would eat the hay near.
I want to be head cow.
Well, it's not even necessarily. It's more that there are cow cliques.
Cow cliques.
Yeah.
We're the curly-haired cows. You're not curly-haired.
Oh my God!
We're the cows with stars upon theirs.
How do you win the cow popularity contest?
Your spots are not cute. You need to leave. Also, they found the gene. They think a single gene controls jet lag, which is very exciting for me because I do a lot of flying, and I am very familiar with jet lag. It's a horrible thing. Feel kind of like you're dying slowly. Well, I'm not exaggerating at all.
Oh dear.
Hyperbole. No, it's not fun. But still, they found the gene they think that is responsible for jet lag. So they think that that could be used to help treat jet lag, also insomnia, other circadian rhythm problems. Pretty neat. And
I would actually think the opposite. I would think, because I don't get jet lag, and I tend to be an insomnia. So I would think actually insomnia and the ability to overcome jet lag would go well together, because you're just gonna sleep when you sleep, and it's either gonna be awake. You have no real rhythm set for a 24-hour day. I live on a 27-hour planet, maybe 28 hours.
It just sounds like you're jet lagged all the time.
Right? That's kind of what it is, yeah. So
if they could figure out
when you're waking up, you change the clocks. It makes no difference.
If they could figure out the gene responsible for that, maybe you could sleep at a normal hour.
There's a related study related to shift workers who undergo kind of jet lag because they're shifting their sleep-wake cycle to do shift work, finding many of them use over-the-counter and prescription drugs to manage their sleep cycles, and a review of a small number of trials testing over-the-counter and prescription drugs suggests that in a number of people they might be doing more harm than good. So that for shift work, it might not necessarily be helping you out, and it could be leading to more side effects, headaches, nausea, increased blood pressure in many of the people. So,
yeah. Well, not to mention, I always get worried about creating dependency, about not being able to sleep without the drugs.
right. So there are a lot of issues related to that. So jet lag, shift work, insomnia, these things, they go kind of close together. And yeah, these studies are all very interesting.
We can just make sleep not necessary. Then
I love sleep. Come on.
But think about all that time. A third of your life, you're just lying there.
And you'd find something to fill it up with, but
yeah.
I get to have dreams, and I wake up and I go, I'm so refreshed. Oh my gosh. Let's drink coffee now.
Do you ever dream you're a macaque?
No.
No?
Can't say that I have.
Well, macaques, how's that for a segue? Macaques, they don't know who their fathers are growing up, but they apparently can recognize the paternal side of their family. They can recognize half-siblings. They took wild monkeys and showed them different pictures of other monkeys, and they studied the non-related, on the paternal side, monkeys longer than the related ones, which indicates that they knew that the not related ones were a threat, and the related ones, they were like, I'll let them go because they have some of my DNA.
How did they know? Did they smell them?
Facial features is what they're saying.
Facial features.
Yeah, they can recognize facial features that mean that they're related. But that only worked with same sex. When they were looking at different sex, apparently it didn't matter. They spent equal time looking at the opposite sex, whether they were related or not.
Interesting.
So, just when it comes to competition.
Yeah, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Who wants to have things put in your brain?
Good things? Bad things? I'll take it. What is it?
Lasers?
Not lasers. Flexible nanoelectronics.
Bring it on.
Yeah, really interesting work being done by a lab run by Charles M. Lieber, and he and his team are working on neurological disorders and the possibility of reading cellular activity by having nanoelectronics that are put in the brain and communicate with, not just read activity from, but also communicate with neurons of the brain to then modulate activity. So in the case of a neurological disorder in which neuron activity is abnormal, these implants could be put into the brain, say into the dopaminergic nuclei that produces L-dopamine. And in patients who have Parkinson's disease, dopamine release is limited. Less and less dopamine gets released over time. And if you could read from those neurons that they're not getting the right kind of signals, that they're not acting the right way, and then give them a signal, pulses of energy to actually stimulate them so that they do the job that they're supposed to be doing, that's their goal. So they have been working to make ultra-thin nanowires. They've built ultra-flexible 3D mesh scaffolding with hundreds of addressable electronic units, and they are growing living tissue on it, testing it. They've developed the tiniest electronic probe that can record fast signaling between cells, and they are figuring out how they can inject these electronics into the brain. So they're going to be testing it on mice, rats.
This was my question.
Yeah.
How's it getting in there?
A needle?
Through the nose?
I don't know, or maybe through the nose, depending on what location in the brain. Maybe a hole in your head.
Yeah, because otherwise they'd have to drill a hole in the skull, right?
Just
Which
a little one.
It's
You'll
done.
close it up later.
Yeah, it's done.
It's
Still,
done.
I'm just saying it's not.
It wouldn't be
It's
minor.
not just like there you go. Boop.
No, it wouldn't be minor. This would probably, yeah, there would be some definite, and to get the injection so that the electronics go to the right location in the brain, you'd have your head in a stabilizing stereotaxic device that would enable the researchers to know exactly where they're putting
Have you in and out in an hour. You'll be fine.
Yeah, very likely.
It won't
But
be
I
that.
think it's very, I think it's very interesting work. The idea that we could inject something that is tiny, flexible electronics that
Mhm.
then interact with the cells in such a way as to actually read them and manipulate the way that they signal and potentially help with disorders of the brain. That I think is just fascinating. And this stuff eventually somebody's going to put it in a healthy brain and try and upregulate the stuff that they do. But
Hey, want to learn how to kill creativity in women?
no.
It's
How about
easier
the
than you
other
think.
way around?
It's easy. If you want to allow the creativity of women, you put them in a small group with other men, maybe, have them work together in parallel groups to another group doing the same project. Women will become very creative. But if you put too many women together and have them working on a competitive task against another group, all of their creativity seems to disappear. It's really kind of an interesting concept, and it makes me start to think why. But yeah, in small teams that work side by side, women tend to perform better and will outperform men in the creativity. As soon as you add the element of competition, though, the picture changes. Men, under those circumstances, get together. They become more independent, more collaborative. And women do just the opposite.
They become more independent and more collaborative?
The men do. When we're like, all right,
Aren't
team.
those kind of opposites?
Independent and collaborative.
No, those work together. See, you're not. It's an individual team effort. This is what you don't. This is why women don't get sports. It's you got your sports
No,
here.
wait, whoa. What?
It's an individual team effort in sports, is what I was trying to say. That's all. I'm getting emails from HR already. Okay, so I'll just make it brief. So they did this study where they tested different types of groups working together, and it turned out that in a competitive, larger group setting, women became much less creative than the men under those circumstances. This is. Did you know that turtles could talk? Is this something that's already known, Blair? That turtles talk to each other?
How do they talk to each other?
They talk to each other. This is some research that they've been doing over many, many years.
Very.
Hundreds of hours of recordings made. It turns out that baby turtles, before they have left the shell, the egg, the turtle egg, are already chattering away.
Adorable.
They're communicating. Mom is communicating back. They're talking. And they think this is why perhaps the baby turtles all kind of come out of their shells at about the same time, too. There's a sort of chatting. Should we do it now? No, maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, how about now? Is this a good? Mom's looking around. The weather's not quite right. Tide's not right. Okay, and then finally, okay, everybody come on out. And then they do. They climb out. And they stick together out in the ocean for quite a long time. And they convert from when the babies are all on the eggs, the little turtlings. What do you call a baby turtle? Has it got its own designation?
Turtlets.
A what?
Blair's making that up.
Okay. She's a zoologist. Maybe if they haven't thought of one yet, maybe that's what it's called now.
Everything has a name.
Right. So the baby turtles, they're talking in sort of high frequency.
Oh, hatchling.
Maybe allows it. What is it?
Hatchling.
Hatchling. Well, they're not hatched yet, though. This is what I'm talking about. They haven't hatched yet.
Turtle embryos. Continue.
But I don't think it's talking embryos either. I'm going to call them turtlings. The little turtlings, they're talking in high frequency, and they're saying, well, that makes sense. It gets through the egg well. And as soon as they're out to sea, they begin changing their tone to low frequencies, which are going to work over a greater distance and transmit better underwater. but they keep up almost constant communication, which allows them to float around, swim around, and sort of stick together as a pod in the ocean. So turtles talk. Irish researchers, looking over studies of thousands of women, they found that women who were prescribed aspirin before getting breast cancer, who were taking it on a daily basis, showed significantly less chances of getting a lymph node positive breast cancer than the non-users. So something about daily doses of aspirin somehow is protecting lymph nodes from cancer. Let's see. What else? There's one last one. Did you hear about this lionfish?
What about them?
The study on lionfish where they found that this is when they go into an area where they're not normally in, they begin to kill the other fish and apparently attempt to wipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
Lionfish assassination squad, which is why the study that we were talking about when we talked about the 6th grade girl who did the lionfish encroaching up estuaries into less salty water versus the grad student who had done a whole bunch of work. We had this long conversation about that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that's a big deal is because of this, that lionfish come in and they kill things.
They're like the eucalyptus of the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It does seem, I mean, they're saying that they kill off, they go around until they've killed off at least like 90% of the competition. I mean, they go, and it's a kill to kill, not predator for food sort of a thing. It's they're showing up and committing fish genocide, basically, when they take over a territory, which is an unusual, even when you have an invasive animal, there's usually maybe the invader is out competing for the same resource. You know, maybe it's the predator and is eating a lot of locals, but they are specifically taking out the competition for the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Interesting.
Nasty. Also poisonous if you eat them.
Yeah.
One last story.
Okay.
One last story. We are all made of stardust.
Yes.
Right?
Because the elements that are the heavy elements of which we are made up are only formed in stars. There is no other known source in the universe for that which maketh up the human being and the other matter around planets and stuff like that. But what's the stuff that stars are made of? Because they're not made out of stardust, because there wouldn't be stardust without
Pixie dust.
Pixie dust.
space dust.
Oh, jeez, space.
They did a study of 500,000 stars as their data points, and some computer modeling, along with a 10-year period of the radial velocity experiment known as RAVE. The project also used the UK Schmidt telescope in Australia. Lots of data points, lots of data, and they tried to model where is the stuff in space where stars are made from. And they kind of got a map made based off of this. And what's really interesting, we're used to seeing those sort of tentacles of matter and material between, you know, stars and the galaxies. The areas where they believe the molecular beginnings of stars exists was in locations different than where the cosmic dust is, which kind of makes sense.
Because they used it to be stars. All right. Holes in your head?
Mm-hmm.
Never worry.
Several.
Anyway. There's a new material that was created by some researchers at Texas A&M University, and they have used a shape memory polymer. It will mold itself precisely to the shape of a bone defect, and it's this really cool material that's kind of looks like a hard sponge when it's all shaped up, and the holes in it allow real bone cells to come in and take up space to migrate in and grow, so it actually will become part of the bone over time. So this material, it could be used to fill in gaps in bone that have been removed for tumor removal, for example, for birth defects like cleft palates. all sorts of things. The foam that they're using is elastic, biodegradable, and already used in some medical implants, so we know that it is well tolerated. And
Awesome.
yeah,
That is
very, very neat material that
so
has
cool.
the potential to help people out. You know?
That's great.
Yeah. And gecko toes, they control how they stick to things.
How?
The angle of interaction. It all has to do with the angle at which the little tiny cilia-like hairs on the toes of a gecko interact with the wall. So when they change the angle very slightly, it becomes not sticky.
So does that doesn't work with Velcro though?
No, not the same as Velcro.
Which Velcro is kind of it's funny. Gecko toes have always been described to me like Velcro, but it's not very much like Velcro.
Nothing like Velcro. Velcro is based off of a plant in the Dutch mountains there that has these little thistles with hooks on them that would get caught on pant legs. And by a scientist who was out walking his dog, I don't know if he was a physicist or an astronomer, he was something else. He wasn't a plant biologist, I don't think. But decided to look at these thistles under a microscope, saw the little hooks, and came up with the idea for Velcro based on the plant. Now the gecko is little folds with the little hairs. It's
They're
like
kind of like little folds. Yeah, they're like little tiny hairs or folds. They're microscopic. They're called setae on the toes of the geckos, and they interact at subatomic scale. So they actually interact using van der Waals forces. So it's just a basic physics force by which atoms interact. And so the atoms in the setae interact with the atoms in the wall. And what they have mathematically modeled, this team publishing in the Journal of Applied Physics, is that basically these van der Waals forces are turned on or off by just the changing of the angle of interaction. And it's just, it activates a small shear force or an anti-gravity kind of, it's not really friction, but it allows them to stick to the wall. And these setae, I guess, can absorb a large amount of energy, so a gecko could fall very far and still catch themselves, or be able to push off of the wall and dart away very quickly. So there's some really interesting stuff here. I do hope someday to have Spider-Man gloves.
So it's magic.
Gecko.
You're saying
Gecko
it's magic.
gloves.
It's magic.
It's not magic, it's science!
No, I understand.
Physics!
But
It's
sadly,
insane, though.
1 in 1,000 geckos doesn't understand this, and will start to climb a wall and simply get stuck.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't know how to.
No, that's so great. I love that they're interacting with their environment at a subatomic level. It's
Seriously.
insane.
It's amazing the way things work when we find some very, very interesting things.
Yeah.
And I believe, have we made it to the end of the show? Have we talked about so many interesting things that we're done for the week?
Oh my gosh, it has been such a week in science. There was so much.
So much. And we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. All right, everybody.
Whoa. 2 seconds.
2 seconds?
You can time me. Two-headed dolphin found on beach. Just want to screen share that. If you are listening, just Google two-headed dolphin. Pretty crazy. Check it out for the video audience. Bam. Two-headed dolphin discovered in Turkey. Crazy. They're just conjoined twin dolphins, but still, wow.
It just goes to show that these things happen not just in humans or what, all of nature has these kinds of phenomena, and we just don't see it all the time.
Yes.
But we saw
Someone in the chat room said I didn't give any nightmare fuel this week, so I had to deliver. I'm sorry.
Hey, Blair, has there ever been a conjoined mermaid at the aquarium?
You know, we just got one the other week.
I know. You love got a tour that can join Twin Mermaid. Exactly. All right. Shout outs to all of our Patreon supporters, but specifically to Kevin and Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard and Paul Disney, Sam Winsier, John Ratnaswamy, Rudy Garcia, Patrick Cohn, Stephen B., Mark, Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Andreas Axstad, Jason Roberts, Shane and Tara Ginsburg, Brian Condren, Byron Lee, E.O., Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Jake Jones, Chris Cross. We're going to make you, because we're Chris Cross, we're going to make you, Sarah Chavez, Steven Srowiec, Layla Amir Sadeghi, Paul Stanton, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson Henry, Violated Gorilla, Don Komarechka, Randy Mazuka, Ed Dyer, Tony Steele, Larry Garcia, Kevin Parachan, Darren Lute, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, Daryl Lambert, John H. Maloney, Jason Olds, Gordon Grant, James Paul West, Lauren Lang, Thomas Mikinen, Alec Doty, Illuminama, Nick Gradwell, Dan Rambo, Dougal Campbell, TMRO, Miko Pakala, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Jason Martin, Marjorie, Scott Lajewski, Philip Shane, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothick, Columbo Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. I don't think I'm leaving anybody else out, so thank you so much for your support of This Week in Science. On next week's show, once again, we're going to be broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time on twist.org/live. But don't worry if you can't catch us here and now or then and there. We are on youtube.com/thisweekinscience. You can access our videos, and also twist.org. You can find our audio podcast. And subscribe. And don't forget to tell a friend about TWIS and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/thisweekinscience.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory, or if you have a mobile device, some may call them phones or tablet type thing, you can also find us there. We are TWIS for Droid in the Android marketplace, or simply TWIS in the Apple marketplace.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's www.twis.org. That's TWIS.org, where you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can hit us up directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twist.org. Be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will get spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there is a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
it's all in your head. Oh, I didn't turn it up.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world, so I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice, show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand, and all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way, so everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy, We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And this week in science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say, and if you learned anything from the words that we said, then please just remember it's all in your head. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
Well, that, Blair. That's a pretty one. Oh, it's a dancing spider!
It's a peacock spider.
Spider, I love it.
Look at him.
I love it.
And then I also did this.
Oh, a panda.
I did a panda.
I'm loving these.
Love the panda. Where's the? Did you
Art
already do
pieces.
the peacock spider?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it up there again for funsies.
Peacock
There we go.
spider.
And then, just so I can show you guys, oh my gosh, are you thirsty, Kiki? You look
I'm
thirsty. Oh,
eating some water.
yeah.
I'm eating some water.
Look, so these are copies of the ones I sent off.
I love the jelly.
Oh, that's so good.
The jellies are
There's
great.
the jelly. And then the octopus. I think that's my favorite.
Not bad for a color blend, I might add.
Yeah, not bad for a color print. And there's my shark.
Shark Week.
Little shark.
Oh, look, bonus, bonus. Hold that back up again.
Shark Week bonus!
Corner.
It's
Yeah.
a Golden Gate Bridge.
All right.
Because they're from the San Francisco Bay. And then, because I do love my terrestrials, there's a zebra.
I love that one. Okay.
Zebra.
Ow.
So the originals of most of those are on their way.
Jim Inhofe is watching us? Awesome. Shh, that's funny. That's funny, Steve Everett.
So, anyway, if you guys want draw rings, I still haven't sent off the peacock spider or the panda. So those are still waiting for homes.
That's right. You just
So
have to.
Pledge at least $15 on Patreon.
That's right. People wondered what kind of art they would be getting, and it's wonderful. It's
I kind of
wonderful.
started this
Wonderful Blair art.
kick.
Wait, did you say tick?
Kick.
Oh, kick. I thought you were going to draw a tick.
I could. I was thinking about doing bed bugs, doing traumatic insemination.
Ooh.
An illustration
I like
of
that
traumatic insemination. Maybe a bowl. I don't know.
Iwegian Minion is asking Janiscu in the chat room if people in Finland use light boxes or some other means to deal with seasonal affective disorder. I believe they use death metal and vodka.
Hey,
And bowl science.
We did the light story, right?
The light story?
About the light sleeping in complete darkness, the mouse study, the cancer risk of sleeping with light in the room.
I don't think so.
Did I not do the story last week? Oh no.
No, I don't think
Nope.
so. No.
No, you did not.
Oh my goodness, I'll bring it next week because I thought I did it, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, they did this study where they had these mice that were predisposed to get cancer, and the ones that they had and that were sleeping in complete darkness didn't get the cancer at the same rate, got it at a much lower rate than those that slept with even a little bit of light, being exposed to even a little bit of light. And the idea is perhaps that melatonins that the brain secretes, like the estrogen system, and maybe that's what's happening, but it's interrupting brain secretion that takes place while we sleep, even having a little bit of light in the room. I gotta go find that story. I can't believe I didn't do. Gosh, I must have talked about that story too much that I thought I did it on the air.
There are some strange tweets coming at me this evening. So, first one this evening, somebody wants my assistance with a noted veteran. Contact me ASAP. And then Week in Science is saying, I'm a Twitter account without a purpose. Help me fulfill my destiny, Dr. Kiki. Adopt me. Please, pretty please. Who did that? Who did Week in Science?
So Steve Everett
Is that
says
someone? Is that someone? We talked
read the
about
story, but
this time
read
ago,
also
didn't
somewhere
we?
skin detects light. I don't know though, because mice are covered with fur, right? Like this is what I was wondering: is it just skin, or if you put on like one of those sleep masks, would that trick the brain in secreting the melatonins? I don't know.
I do believe that light is not completely blocked from the skin and the body through hair in most cases.
Oh.
Someone else wants me to Facebook their ex and tell them that he loves her. Dr. Kiki, have you ever effed up with your soulmate? Help. Can you Facebook my ex and tell her I love continued? And then there's another thing to... I'm not going to click on your link. Are you...
I got a really interesting
Bit
Twitter
knowledge?
message also earlier last week. Someone wants me to go on their show, and it has nothing to do with science.
Well, I've done that before. It can be very fun, but it can also be strange. Maybe they want science on their show.
This is, and you guys are
It's
getting
not
this
the Howard Stern show, right?
Wait, you guys are getting these invites in your emails? Because I'm
I got
getting
a Twitter
is like
message.
Twitter.
Let's see. It's called...
Ooh.
It's a travel blog style video for a website.
What? What?
So let's look at him again.
Who? What?
It's yawncentral.com.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, the man standing on the moon, there's no man standing on the moon, people.
No, I saw that. That's just silly.
What?
Sensationalistic videos on the weather on weather.com.
From a distance, it might appear that way, but I am sitting. I am not standing.
On the moon, yes.
Yeah.
Blair, yeah, Justin is sitting on the moon.
So it's a cool website. It's called Yawn Central, but I don't understand. I think I need more information. I need to ask him more information.
Have them say, hey, email me, or say direct message, here's my email, and then...
Well, this is all via direct message already.
Okay, yeah, have him email you and get more information.
Cool.
Yawn Central is what it's called?
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally open to it. I just don't really know.
Wait, this is Yawn Central relaxation videos? Or is there something I'm missing here?
Yeah.
Yawn Central, hang out, relax, sleep?
Yes.
Science of relaxation videos.
Yeah, I just don't know. But then he brought up travel, so I'm very.
Oh, because you travel a lot, going to Israel.
Yeah.
So maybe he wants to talk to you about Israel.
It's possible. I don't
Maybe
really
about
want to talk
Jerusalem.
about the politics of Israel right now.
I don't know.
I don't really feel like being
Interesting.
another talking head on the other end of the planet from where everything's happening.
Interesting. Yeah, get more information, definitely.
Yeah.
Non-central. Relaxation videos.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do I need a relaxation video? Coming soon.
Hey.
That just made me stressed out.
Relaxation video coming soon?
Yeah.
Stressed you out?
But I wanted it right there. Okay. I had too much coffee today.
That's funny.
I kind of wonder, I don't know, I did have a little bit more coffee than normal today, but not ridiculously more than normal. But I sat in a cafe today, and I'm wondering if breathing the coffee fumes or getting them in my skin and having them, I have felt so caffeinated today, it's just not even funny. I mean, it could just all be psychosomatic, but I have felt incredibly caffeinated today.
Me too, but I also had a lot of coffee, so I know from whence it came.
Yes, I was going to do a hangout tonight, but I did not have anyone get back to me who would be able to do the hangout tonight. Is Arnlore in the chat room right now? Arnlore's not online. Mm-mm. No.
I gotta go.
You gotta go. So we'll work out a hangout another time. Maybe I'll try and do a hangout.
I was supposed to be somewhere a half an hour ago.
Really? What are you supposed to be doing?
Huh?
Are you going to a party?
I'm going out.
You're going out. You're going
Thursday
out?
night. We're gonna raise
You
the
can't
roof.
go out on a Thursday night.
You're
Huh?
like a working dad. You're not allowed to go out on a Thursday. Come
Whatever.
on. You're supposed to be here. It's Blair's job. She is the younger generation. She's
No,
the
I
one-
can't
Also,
believe younger generation.
People ask me all the time to go out on Thursday nights, and I go, nope,
She's
sorry.
pet sitting. No, all of my offspring are actually because I work weekends. So they're all of my offspring are off vacationing this weekend, and I've got to work. But they're all gone now. So I don't have to wake up early. I don't have to be functioning in the morning whatsoever. I'm gonna go whoop it up.
Rage.
Whoop it up. What is that like?
I don't know. I can't wait to find out though.
What is that? What is that? Whooping it up.
I don't know.
Rage. Rage.
So next week we might have a guest.
Cool.
I'm doing an
But
open mic rap. I've worked up a new updated my terrorist rap to include ISIS and the Islamic State. So I'm gonna go try it out on the crowd. See
That's what Davis needs.
yeah, see how it goes. You know.
Can't wait to find out. Oh, Paul D. Disney did just send a response. What was I going to say last night? Oh, and this year I'm going to Burning Man. It looks like I'm going to Burning Man again. So
So when are you going?
the week after next.
So when you say the week after next,
So
is
this
the
week is this week. Next
Right.
week is the 21st. The 28th, I will not be here.
okay.
The 28th, I will be on
So
the
you'll
Playa.
be here the coming week, and then you'll also be here the next week, and it's the
No.
week after that you'll be gone.
No.
No, why did you do that? Why did you
Because
change
that's
what
what
I
people
said?
do to me all the time with next. I'm with you. I think the next one is the next one that
The
happens.
next one that
That's the
happened.
way it should be. The next one that happens is the next one. But some people mean not this one, but the next one is the one, right? And that's really frustrating.
Rage.
Because, you know,
Well,
I because I
Oh,
can.
boy.
So it's not that
you're-
frustrating or weird. Next week
The
we'll have
28th.
introduced
From now,
The
you'll be doing
28th.
this show.
what 7 days
7
from now
days
I will
you'll
be
doing the show. 14 days from now,
I will
you'll
not be
be
doing it.
high out of your mind in the middle of the Nevada desert.
Justin, she just used a
High on
date,
dancing.
like with a numeral.
What?
It's the 28th.
Yeah, the 28th. 14 days from now. 14 days from now, I will not be here. I will be somewhere else instead.
Justin, will
Good.
you be here?
When?
On the
Oh
28th.
yeah, I need to be here then too, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we're
actually, I've
getting
been
to.
having pretty good success lately of
Yeah.
being able to get here. Could all change any moment.
Okay.
In an instant.
Yeah,
Then we'll do it. It'll be
just like
great.
that.
Yeah.
We'll do the science.
I'm going to go look for science in the desert.
Sweet.
There never
Um,
rocks in the desert. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I, in October, will miss a TWIS.
Great.
And in December, I'm going to the National Science Teachers Day.
NSTA, National Science Teachers Association meeting. Awesome.
Going to that.
Great.
So I was actually thinking about not registering as a teacher and trying to get a press pass, but it's too difficult.
Is it difficult? No, this is usually really easy. Oh my goodness.
What credentials?
What do you mean credentials? You know what credentials they typically want? A business card.
Yeah, I don't have those.
You could print one.
All right.
I've gotten into Disneyland for free. I got into the Monterey Aquarium. They had this function I went with a bunch of people at work. We were going to go learn about the Honda house because I work for Honda now, or not Honda, but a Honda dealership. And I walked up. They were walking into they were in this long line of people who were going to get to go in and see it. I walked right over to the press one. I was like, yeah, with this thing, This Week in Science. And I got this press badge. I got this, where is it? This little thumb drive with all the information on the house and the exhibit.
Oh.
I got media contacts to talk to about doing interviews. They invited us to go use the house for an episode.
Yeah,
You
I
have to press
called
pass.
the guy, and then he never followed up with me. I gotta get
Yeah,
back.
what are you gonna do? Yeah, and it was all by walking up and saying, "I'm with the media."
Yep.
Yeah, this one's a little more intense.
They still like the media.
The media.
Identity 4. I will never miss a TWIS. Yeah, not even your hill being on fire. It did not stop you. It's true.
Yeah, well, we also don't want to lose a listener because you're all precious, each one of you.
Mhm.
So don't die
Don't die.
for the sake of one episode, because you can listen to it later. It's being recorded.
It is. It is. It is. All right, Justin, go do your thing. Go whoop it up and see what the world is like after 10 o'clock at night in the city of Davis on Thursday nights these days.
It's much more happening than you might think.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's Thursday.
Totally, there's a scene.
Thursday's been the new Friday for, I don't know, since before I was in college.
Yeah.
Although now in the city it's Wednesday. Wednesday's the new Thursday.
Oh.
Just so you know.
So when do we do the show? Are we supposed to be doing the show on Wednesday now?
No.
Don't confuse me.
Sorry, I don't mean to confuse you. Don't.
Do you know we still get mail at KDVS?
Got some books delivered to me.
I delivered
by
them.
Miss Blair. Yeah.
I even gave her the book I wanted. I was good.
And it's good that you did because we are interviewing him potentially next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Garth Sundum, Beyond IQ. Probably going to be talking with him next week. He was supposed to be on the show last week, but then he had back surgery, so we decided that was not a good idea.
Someday we need to figure out how to update the mailing address to the publishing companies.
Yes, that's what I have to work on doing.
We got to
is getting
figure out where that
updated.
list is that we got our name on and change the address.
Yes. Final Frontier, the pioneering science and technology of exploring the universe by Brian Clegg. We also have The Science Delusion by Curtis White.
Yeah, well, I think that might be a crackpotty book. Not sure. I think it's The Answer to the God Delusion.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. And then I also have The Amazing World of Flying Fish.
What?
Yeah, I have a whole book about flying fish here. It's
Where did that come from?
This came from Princeton University Press.
But was this in the KDVS stuff?
No, this came to my mailbox.
Oh, I was going to say.
Some are
'Cause we
starting to
pre-opened all
get
the
the
mail to
hint.
see what was good and
Yeah.
what.
We've got nice pictures of beautiful flying fish here.
Totally would have had to fight Blair to steal that book
Flying
if it would have
fish.
shown up at KDVS.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I gave it to Kai immediately upon receiving it, and he's like, "Whoa! These things look like birds." Seriously. This picture. Flying fish. We should interview this person about flying fish, huh?
Yeah.
That would be very fun, huh? All right, Steve Howell.
All right.
You will be getting. Wow, that's
Be
a
seeing
big
ya.
flying fish. Go have a good time. This fish has very large fins.
That can't. No, stop. That's
Those are
not.
like wings. These are like
That's
wings on a fish. Look at that giant fish with
that's
giant
a fake
wings.
picture. That doesn't exist.
It's
Is that real? Is that
not.
sailfish? What is that?
Oh, yeah, it's a computer enhanced image. It's
Aww.
not real. That would be awesome, though.
Be seeing ya.
Be seeing ya. I believe this is the first time that Justin has just dropped out and hasn't opted to try and get us to hang out longer. Oh, yeah, you people. Yes, Patrick Pecoraro made a TWIS pass to get into a space conference. He did ask if he could use our logo before doing it, and I did send him images. So I think, yeah, we talked about it. He was going to talk about the space conference with TWIS, so he was going as somebody for TWIS.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Quantum Club. The Quantum Club, Janiscu. We need the Quantum Club. We all belong to the Quantum Club, everyone. There were some great designs that Tony made once. I don't know how to get Tony Steele made for Quantum Club. We should make some Quantum Club t-shirts.
Yeah.
Those would be special.
More merch.
More merch. Exactly. Yeah, the science delusion sounds a little anti-science. We'll see.
Yeah,
I
I was
haven't
just
actually
looking.
looked at it. Yeah.
I was just looking at they were saying that, like, Richard Dawkins isn't a true atheist and weird things like that.
So strange. So strange.
I'm just okay with not reading that, probably.
Yeah. I have to say, today I had one of the best couple of hours that I've had in recent history. I took a couple of hours and I sat and I read for intellectual curiosity.
Yes.
I started reading a book called The Science of Liberty, which is very interesting. And I also started reading a book on the brain and consciousness. It's this big, like, it's made for academics. It's not like an easy reading book, but I started reading it. It was awesome.
That's so cool.
I was like, yes, the brain and consciousness, and you're using big words, and I'm having to think really hard. This is awesome.
So cool. It took me years to circle back around to nonfiction after college. Because I just couldn't read nonfiction for pleasure.
I can't
For
read
a
it
pretty
right before
long
bed.
time.
It gets
Yeah.
my head going when I read nonfiction, or when I read things that are nonfiction that I'm really interested in. It gets my head going, and I start thinking, and I get really stimulated by it, and so I can't actually read it before bed. But I can't read it, or haven't been able to read it during the day having Kai around because it's hard. So like, I'm starting to give myself some time to do some of that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, make the brain work. All right, beef. We know what that is. The Quantum Club. That's right. Butterflies. How are those dogs and cats over there?
Good.
Good.
I heard weird sounds, but I think it's from next door or upstairs. The dog's totally asleep in her box. You're just gonna lay there and sleep? Really?
Hey, do you want to house sit while I'm at Burning Man?
Yeah. Probably.
That'd be cool.
I have to check dates.
Okay,
But yeah,
that'd be awesome.
I'm down.
Yes.
Why do you need someone at your house?
To feed the cats.
Ah, the cats.
Hmm.
They don't feed themselves out in the world?
They do that, but they have become accustomed to certain things like canned food
Mhm.
on a regular basis. So,
Yeah, I'll definitely house it.
Gord McLeod, you are so right. Oh my goodness. The Double Diamond Club stealth includes the Quantum Club right in the middle. You see it or you don't see it? Do you see it or you don't see it? I love it. That is awesome. I never saw that before. Thank you. That is so cool. CR1 wants to know why I'm going to Burning Man.
'Cause it's your thing.
Because I love Burning Man. I used to go to Burning Man every year. I went for a decade. I don't know how I managed that, but I went for a decade. And
Come here.
then I had a child, and I took time off, and I got to go last year because a friend gifted me a ticket, and Marshall stayed home with Kai, and I got to go with
You went
another
without him
mom.
last year?
I did. It was my friend and I, who both have children of about the same age. Our husbands stayed home with the children.
Aww.
And we got to go. We were moms on the playa. We had so much fun. Just had so much fun. So just great time. And this year I'm gonna go with Marshall.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't think Kai's gonna go to Burning Man this year though.
He's staying with the
He's
friends?
he's staying with friends. Although I'm having issues, it is kind of bohemian, loquacious one. It's all sorts of things though. It really is. And I think they even have like a TEDx on the playa now. There's like it's everything is out there. But yeah, I'm having issues because this is going to be the longest that I'll have been away from Kai.
Yeah.
And I kind of I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go as long. But then I'm like, but I do. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I don't care. So I'm kind of having some internal arguments.
I think once you get there, you'll be happy to stay.
Right? Yeah, once I get there, I'll be super happy and just have a great time. But
there's phones work out there, right?
Not so much. Some do. I mean, some people's phones work. Last year, my phone did not work.
Wow.
Whiskey Renegade, a children's book about a fish evolving into a bird. That would be fun. CR1, if you can remember Burning Man, you weren't there. No. Ha.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's super fun. There is just so much to do out there. It's insane. And there are the freak shows, but then there's also like a super marathon that takes place every year. Like there are people who go and they run one of the
in the desert?
In the desert, they run the perimeter of Burning Man, and they run a super marathon, like 50 miles, and I think that's like one of the barefoot races too on top of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a 50-mile marathon. There's there are the big sound camps and dance clubs, and yeah, there's like the whole kind of rave party culture, but then there's the amazing stuff that people build, and there are academic sessions where people give talks and presentations. There's art that you can do and get involved with. There's just fun fashion shows. No, there's so much. It's just, you can't describe it. It's a city. It has become a very diverse city.
Hmm.
But yes, I would agree with Loquacious One that it's probably more on the bohemian side.
So I heard
Good
that
night, Rights for Robots.
you have to bring in water.
Yeah, there's no water there. You have to bring in all of your own food and water and everything. The only thing that they provide there is ice and coffee.
And coffee.
And coffee.
So these people running 50 miles in the desert. I'm just thinking logistically, they need to drink a lot of water.
Right.
That's like so much water.
Right. They probably bring a lot of water.
And you definitely don't shower the entire time, right? That would be a waste because it's so dirty.
Some people do. I mean, people bring water and they set up sun showers. They set up, yeah, there are all sorts of things that people do. Yeah, people shower. It's not, you don't feel really dirty there most of the time though, because the dust is just this really light alkaline dust, and it's not like regular dirt.
Mm.
So you don't feel as dirty as you would normally, and because it's so hot, you don't, and there's this dust, this like talc powder, you don't get super sweaty either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
and then it's all like a bartering system out there too, right? Like you trade things that you have for stuff that other people have. This is what I've heard.
It's a gift economy. So there's no bartering. If somebody gives you something, you don't have to give them anything back. People gift you things. The idea is that it's it's basically just the idea of giving to each other, helping each other out. There are like the 10 commandments of Burning Man that are radical self-expression, radical self-reliance, there's a whole lot of things that they try and instill in people who come out and become part of the event. You don't want to be the kind of person who comes and is totally unprepared for being in the desert for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be the person who doesn't have enough water to drink. You don't want to be the person who didn't bring any food, or there's a lot of stuff, but at the same time, you're not going to just let somebody die of dehydration out there. You're going to help the people out around you.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are a lot of naked people, but it's not the only thing. People bring RVs. There's a lot of RVs. A lot of people tent camp, though. There are people who build teepees. There are giant dome structures that people build. Shade structures. It's cool. It's crazy. It's a very interesting camping experience. It's like nothing else, and there's music, but it's not a music festival. So you're not like, oh, I'm gonna go and just hear these stages and go around and hear different artists.
Sweet.
Yeah, a week's worth of food is a lot of food. You are correct, Dr. Morbius. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll have stories to tell when I get back. Maybe I won't. Maybe what happens at Burning Man will stay at Burning Man. I don't know. No. But it is fun, and I have enjoyed it for many, many years, and I'm going to enjoy it again this year, and I'm excited to be going back. Although I'm having concerns about leaving my child for a week.
Of course, yeah.
These darn mom hormone. Bonding hormones. Jeez.
Moms.
Yeah. Yes, Iowegian Minion. The only place you can spend money is at the coffee bar or buying ice. You can buy ice or buy coffee. Those are the only things that you can buy, and the proceeds do go to finance the event. And the cost of the tickets go to build infrastructure so that there is some electricity out there for the major streets that they put down. There's an airport landing field that they put together. They have to have enough porta potties for everybody because not everybody brings their own RVs. So there's porta potties for everyone for a week. They also bring in big water trucks that spray down the roads like once a day to keep the dust down. There are giant structures that are built. The Man. There are also a certain percentage of the proceeds go to fund grants for artists to create the art that is at the event or for the next event. So there's a whole bunch of infrastructure that's involved, and yeah. It's not the cheapest event, but it is a week, and it's super fun, and you get to meet lots of cool people. It's great.
It should be fun.
What happens if Burning Man goes up on Flickr? That's right, Kixzilla. What is that dog doing? Is that a dog?
The clickety-click? That's
Yeah.
my keyboard.
Really?
Yeah, this guy's super techie. Whose dog I'm taking care of, and he has the clickety-clacks. He has
Wow, that is crazy loud. Yeah, there's also solar power out there. They have solar power has become part of the infrastructure to powering a lot of stuff that's out there. There's also been money from the ticket sales to support local schools and the local area around where people live. It's a fairly poor, impoverished area, and so there's a lot of money going into helping the schools out and their infrastructure, putting solar into their buildings and stuff. So there's a lot of local help as well. And yes, there are cops out there. The BLM has cops. There are regular cops out there, and there are also the Burning Man, not really cops, but security teams, the rangers that basically are first response should anything happen. So there's actually a lot of security of sorts out there. And I've also heard that there's undercover cops and FBI and all sorts of things out there, but whatevs.
undercover cops at Burning Man. That's so silly.
There are every year.
That's dumb.
Every year. Yeah, they just want to catch people doing illicit things and send them to jail. Oh. Starbucks across the street. No Starbucks, but there's Center Camp where there's lots of coffee. You could buy coffee at Center Camp.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good to have coffee.
As you have your giant Starbucks mug.
Yes, this is one of the only drinking receptacles in this house. It's such a bachelor pad. It's pretty funny.
It's awesome.
2 computer monitors, 1 mug.
That's funny. Priorities, man. Priorities. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
So hopefully I will be able to work on editing the short that we recorded.
Yay!
And get that out early next week. That's my goal.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, undercover naked cops. Where do you hide the badge?
Oh my gosh. Good question.
Right? This is a question.
In their sock. They're wearing socks and shoes. I mean, obviously. So it's in the sock.
Obviously. Right. They're probably wearing socks and
Do people walk
TWIS.
around the desert barefoot? No, right?
They do. They do. But there is this... people do this, and then they don't think about the alkalinity of the, and we're getting to chemistry right here. The alkalinity of the this old dry lake bed. It is highly alkaline, and so if you run around barefoot, eventually and the dust is very fine, it gets into your skin. Eventually what happens is you end up with something called playa foot or playa rot, and your skin starts getting eaten away because of the alkalinity of the dust. Your skin just starts falling off.
Ew!
And the best solution for it is having a bath with a small amount of vinegar in it that you can put your feet in, and so...
Because that's an acid, the opposite of an alkaline.
Ta-da! Yeah, so easy solution, foot bath, vinegar. But I don't think a lot of people do that, and there are a lot of people who get out to the desert who haven't been out there before, and they haven't heard of it, and then go running around like la 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 la, happy, happy, and then they come home and they're like, oh, my skin's falling off. Vinegar, acid to alkaline. Dr. Felox says black socks and shoes guy is the cop.
Not enough. What?
KJIO says, thanks all for the FYI on Burning Man. I wanted to go for years. Black socks and loafers. Nice, Blair. Yeah, it's pretty funny because really this lake bed, it's an old, it used to be an inland sea. And so the lake bed is made up of, the dead bodies of all sorts of old sea creatures. Around that area, there are lots of gypsum mines.
Gypsum
mines.
Gypsum.
Yep.
That's a fun word.
Mm-hmm. But it's a very inhospitable environment. Yet we go out there and let's have this big party in the desert. You could be on your feet. I guess you could do that too. I don't really want to do that though. I'd rather stick my feet in a little vinegar bath. Yeah, location one. It's the real problem. They don't know about the desert and they hurt themselves. Exactly. Yes. And dehydration is something that it's a big deal. People forget all the time. We've got camelbacks. The camelbacks will be loaded every day to go out into the hot sun and run around. You got to make sure to hydrate.
Yeah, that's super dangerous.
I know people all the time who end up in the med tent with IV solutions because they have overdone it and not taking care to hydrate. It's a very high altitude, yeah. 5,000
Dehydration
feet.
sucks. We get kids dehydrated every year when I go to Israel.
It's probably very similar, just hot. Yeah.
It's hot, and it's also, at least in certain areas, it's super high elevation. In other areas, it's super low elevation.
Yeah.
So either way, it's going to mess with your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Morbius, yes, Black Rock Desert. Exactly. The Black Rock Desert of Nevada.
Oh, I need more monitors.
Gexzilla, you're worried about the desert getting destroyed as more people go. That's not something you really need to worry about, as the area that they use is limited by the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, and the number of people who are allowed to go to the event is limited by BLM. And there is there's a huge procedure involved by the organization in the cleanup. So there are people out on the playa for a month or two ahead of time setting up for the event. the 2 to 3 weeks, the month right ahead of time is really the big month. Then there's the week of the event, and then people stay after the event who volunteer to clean up, and they stay after the event for a couple of months, a month or two, cleaning up, and they walk a grid. They basically set the entire area that Burning Man takes place on up as a grid, and they walk it over and over again, and they get into the pan, the hard pan, and they look for things that garbage, little bits of things that people leave behind, old cars, things people leave the strangest things out there. But there is a very, very serious cleanup effort after the fact, and there is even though there's a lot of burning going on, there are procedures that are taught to everyone to try and mitigate burn scars so that we don't actually burn the desert, and that the impact is minimal. So they've done significant environmental impact mitigation. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Should we go? Twit mugs. Jen is cute. You have TWIS mugs. You should have TWIS mugs too.
You have a Zazzle store. So I hear.
Yeah, Dr. Morbius. Bike riding. Bike riding is fun. I'm just reading things. Yeah. Sunscreen, water, all sorts of stuff. But it's still a week and a half away. I made a nice flower headband for one of my costumes. Yeah. I made a nice flower headband.
Awesome.
With all sorts of ribbons and flowers and things. It is very Woodstocky. So all right.
It's like Woodstock with an edge, though, right? I mean, it's like...
Yeah, with an edge.
It's not just swaying and flowers and mud pits. There's a lot more.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more.
TWIS lab coats.
I know, that would be so neat. That's a great idea.
I know who to ask about that.
The Twit mugs were limited editions, I see. So if we had limited edition things, you would get them, I see. TWIS underwear. We totally need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Identity 4. You had a tie-dye lab coat? That's awesome.
I'm just picturing a pair of underwear that say across the back, it's all in your head.
Nice. That's nice. All right.
Okay.
We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. We don't have any businessy stuff we need to talk about right now. Huh?
I don't think so. Tell your friends to pledge for draw rings.
Draw rings!
And other stuff.
Drawings.
Stuffing all those envelopes. I was so excited for all the people getting swag.
I know.
So, pledge.
Iron-on patches. Chook, 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 chook.
I'm so stoked for those patches.
3.14. That's the pledge level to get a patch. So if you have a lab coat, you could put your TWIS patch on it and have a TWIS lab coat. TWIS, 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 TWIS. That's right. 3.14. That's the pledge level.
3.14?
Yeah. $3.14.
I want to look at our Patreon.
Google Hangouts chat room report. No one to send over tonight. Thanks, Kit J.
I think we gained a supporter. Maybe?
Did we?
I don't know. Think so.
Yes. Come on, Internet. Come on. Yeah, 447. We've got a slow climb.
I just want to get to that 500 so bad.
Right? 500. We can do it. We can do it. 500. We can do it. Keep it. Maintain it. Make it happen.
This keyboard is out of control.
It is. The way it sounds is like bum, 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 bum. Like it's really loud.
Whoops. Whoopsie doodle.
Whoopsie doodle.
This is me trying really hard to not make sounds with the keyboard.
I'm glad you muted yourself during the show.
Yeah. My goodness.
Okay. I know.
Where is the Zazzle store? I thought there was a link to it on
There is. It's
the
in
website.
the Zazzle store.
Oh, I see it. It's its own little tabby.
Its own little tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to have like a bigger thing on the side somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a square poster you can order?
Yeah.
It's square?
There's phone cases.
Whoa.
There's a trucker hat, grocery tote bag, mouse pad, ornaments,
Apron?
a necklace, postage stamps. Come on.
Necklace? What? What?
Right?
Oh, it comes in a bunch of things. You can get it in a locket.
Yep. You
I
can get
want
it.
a square locket. That
TWIS.
doesn't exist.
TWIS in a locket. This is where I keep my twists.
Sterling silver, $146.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
right. There's mugs. There's an apron. They didn't have lab coats in Zazzle, but there is an apron. You can have twists on an apron.
Yeah. Which
It's
is also helpful in the lab.
Yeah, it is. Aprons are very helpful in the lab. This Week in Science apron.
Oh, you can get the TWIS logo on any color shirt you want.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the neat thing about Zazzle is that you can change things up and make it more specified to yourself. So if you want it on a light blue shirt, you can have it on a light blue shirt, a red shirt. Cool.
Women's.
I think the mustard yellow shirt would be kind of nice. Orange is kind of nice. Kind of.
Long sleeve tee. Very interesting.
A pink shirt. Put it on a pink shirt.
Orange and pink.
Mm-hmm.
There's different color trucker hats. What?
You never knew. The variety. The variety.
I was wearing a trucker hat. Oh. I leap SF.
I heart SF.
It's like a leaf with a Golden Gate Bridge in it. It's the logo for the Science Collaborative for Science Education in the SFUSD.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Pretty sweet. Okay.
Right.
I think I'm ready.
11. I know. The
I
apron
do like the
protects the
mugs,
smoke.
though. There's a Stein, which I think is really sweet.
Right.
You can get a TWIS Stein. Ridiculous. TWIS mug.
There's so many cool things.
Okay.
Drink from the Stein. You know you want to.
Do you want to add a tea infuser? No! Zaggle. Why?
Infuser.
What are you trying to say about me? That I can't infuse my own tea? Rude.
Rude.
Ugh.
Rude. Yeah, Identity 4. Bedtime for me, too. Well, it's not as late here as it is where most of you guys are. So, all of you, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us tonight. Thanks for hanging out for the post-show. Yeah, you got to get up and do boring adult work things in a dull gray cube. Jazz it up a little bit.
Me too.
Some pink or color. Add some color to that dull gray cube. What did Janiscu just link to there?
What is it?
OneDrive. Oh, Geek House design from Yanni. Nice. Little shirt design. Nice. Very nice, Yanni. Einstein. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. Emily the Strange, you found us again. Yes.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, thank you. Love it when you hang out in the chat room after the fact and we have little chats and talks and things and we just are here. And thanks for watching the show and being here for us and supporting us. We do appreciate it so much. I'm going to stop the broadcast now and hope that we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye.